Today I'm just talking about waking up from that meditation. That was pretty heavy. I was there, wherever there was. Um, usually I do the first week of every month. And this week was Jazz Fest.
Mic up just
A little more?
just tilt it up towards you.
Better?
Yeah.
Why don't you give me just a little bit more volume on that
Yeah.
too? So I took this week instead. It's okay. Did y'all miss me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm yanking some. Anyway, before the and I'm going to introduce myself to there's a couple y'all are here. I am from a recovery background. Okay, and I'll do my shameless plug every Thursday, 8 o'clock, right here, and we do recovery from a dysfunctional family, etc. Okay, and we go through all of it. We got a whole year of lessons, and we repeat every year. We've been doing it here for a while, and I've been doing it since 2004, every Thursday. So anytime in my life right now on Thursday, you know where I am. So getting to the point, okay, I'm always careful when I'm speaking to non-recovery type of crowds, okay? Because as soon as you say, I'm dealing with people who are recovering from alcohol and dysfunctional family and battering and all kind of stuff like that. When you say that, the person who doesn't have that, immediately they say, oh, well, that's not me, and then they negate the rest of anything else you have to say. And I'm going to use what Wayne Dyer says, when you define me, you negate me, right? So I'm careful to stay on here, unity message. So further to the conversation, we were talking about other preachers and other unity ministers and before the thing. And in Houston, there's Michael Gott. Everyone familiar? All right. He's one of my favorites, by the way. He took over for Caesar. If you're familiar, when I first found Caesar, I didn't even know about Unity of Metairie. That was my gateway in Caesar. So anyway, I used to watch him every week. I didn't have any, and I'm gonna get into a little bit of that. But Michael Gott is in recovery, 20 some odd years, just like me, and he took last month his whole congregation on a Sunday, 2 services, I think, and they went through the 12 steps of AA. So I feel a little better now. He did it. I guess I could do it too, And that's kind of how I looked at that. It's like, wow. And he's talking to them like some of these rough and tough guys in the meetings. He's really got it. And I don't do that, but that's just my way. But there's something else too. I was looking at it last night when I was looking at his page and all of that. They have they go on trips. And I'm doing this just for our board, who happens to be here. They went to Israel. They're going to Ireland. They're going to Japan next year, and they're doing a 7-day cruise out of Galveston or something like that. So I'm saying that for our congregation right here, we need to take it on the road. What do you think about that? So I guess so some of this right here that I'm about to get into, some of it, and I'm going to tell you, I talk about recovery, and I brought this. This is the Life Recovery Bible, okay? And when I first started this, I was doing this in a traditional church, okay? And this was the book, okay? And every other week, I used to have to do a message out of here. So I'm getting at something, and I'm going to, in the back of your mind, if anybody's read Your Erroneous Zones by Wayne Dyer, 40 years ago, I think he wrote it, right? This is the kind of stuff that we were talking about. But what this Bible does, that no other Bible, none do, since it's a recovery Bible, that if you go and you study the people that they wrote about, This Bible will show you that they were dysfunctional, and the dysfunctional, they will define what type of dysfunction. See, I came from a Catholic upbringing. Everybody from Moses and Noah all the way up to Paul and the disciples of Jesus and all of that, they were all like this, I guess, like almost like perfect. And this thing started showing me, no, they weren't. As a matter of fact, now that we've studied it further, they were far from perfect. As a matter of fact, some of that stuff was downright abusive. And from the Old Testament with the wars and all of that kind of stuff, that's crazy, you know? And so I started seeing it from a different perspective. In other words, I had only seen it from one lens for most of half of my life anyway. And I started reading into this, and I started hearing different things with the unity message and that sort of thing. And in the very beginning of recovery, some of the recovery things, we started studying some of the early Emmett Fox writings. And that was my gateway in right there. It was like, wow, I had never seen it interpreted like that before. Like, wow. And that was where my journey began that led me here today. You know, that between seeing things from a recovery standpoint and then seeing things from a metaphysical standpoint, all of a sudden I was on to a new deal. And I do believe that we are the future. You know, I know maybe we don't have that many people in here today, but I believe that our way is, you know, the new thought way is really going to be the future. I'm not sure, let me just say it this way. The time is right for the change, and I believe that. You know, and I also believe that people are being called. They just hadn't found this particular door. But I think COVID had a little bit to do with getting us off the track or whatever. But most of the churches are starting to get their people back. So we're going to believe that it's our turn, you know. So, and we were talking about, you know, our former pastors and stuff like that. I was part of some of that growth too. I used to be back there. That sound. But where I'm getting at, I don't get too far because I got this little thing that we put together. But what I'm getting at, in recovery, we have to lead people to a higher power source, and it's very wide open. It's a broad thing. When I was doing it for a church, they wanted to do it a certain way, right? But the true open recovery way is that you can believe anything you want, okay? And from my point of view, and this is where I come from, you can believe anything you want, but in a way, I'm going to lead to the freedom of our type of belief. And the word that I'm really getting at is freedom. That we're not hemmed into some sort of dogma, or we don't have any of that kind of stuff. So when I get into talking about it, then it would almost want to lead you to something like unity or the other new thought type of. And I'm a big one for Michael Beth. I watch these guys every week on YouTube, you know. But in other words, I'm always feeding my spirit with somebody or something along our lines. So let's go back to where I'm coming from. I believe that you can become, especially if you came from the wrong family and chose the wrong parents, okay? If you're of that sort, or you get into alcoholism or something like that, or some kind of serious abuse, then it's very difficult just to open the door and walk right into the freedom that I'm discussing, that I'm talking about. I think that something necessary has to be done. And this is what Michael God was talking about in this thing, that people are blocked. And I found that no matter who you are, what level, whether you are a priest, a priestess, or a Hindu, or anybody else, if you're dysfunctional, and you have to get past it before you're going to see it any other way. Or you're just going to be in your mind and doing theory up here and not here. And that's what we're all about. We're trying to get to a point. So anyway, let's go ahead and get to it real quick. I'm going to mention this too. I was doing, and this is part of today's where the lesson is that when I leave here today, my girlfriend is in hospital in Baton Rouge, okay? Long story of how it all happened. But it's been about 2 years of in and out of the hospital and being part of it. I also have all sorts of ambition as far as things that I wanted to do. I was looking to do another night for a different type of thing on Sunday nights here, and I was going to do this. And the amount of people I work with during the workload is tremendous. It's heavy. And so we were talking about, I partnered up with another life coach, and we were going to maybe rent this room over here. We were looking at it, and it was like, I got this message from Spirit that just says, I want y'all to read that right over there. Stop. Stop. Take care of what's in front of you. So I stopped all. And I'm going to stay stopped until what's happening, especially with my relationship. I'm going to stay stopped until I know where it's going. And it was a big, kind of a big blow. It's like, wait a minute, already I'm full of energy and all that. And it was like, there's a reason for it. I don't know what that reason is, but I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna listen to what's happening and just do more or less what's in front of me and accept things. Things have been kind of rough. It really has, And I need the energy. Let me just say it this way. For so many years, I've just given all my energy away. Now, I'm going to keep a little bit for me. And it's time for me to get back to basics. And that's what some of today is, all right? So, I'm going to say this also. I do a report for a living, right? I do inspections on boats and that sort of thing. And this week, somebody who's like a proofreader for an attorney firm came up and said, your reports are very wordy. I've got plenty of confidence because everybody understands. And so I'm thinking about this whole time that today might be a little wordy, right? And maybe, because I wrote these a long time ago, at least 10 years ago, I modified them, but maybe I won't read everything that's written. Is that okay with y'all?
Yeah. Yes.
Very good. Okay. So look, this is today. 7 ego drops, and I kind of took this from a guy who was a minister and a social worker back then, and I modified it. So it's like, you go to spiritual growth, there's only one objective: to help you embody your soul while you're still here, right? Ego is always waiting to put the kibosh on the spiritual evolution for its own survival, okay? In recovery, they look at ego as being the enemy, but I have found it's necessary. It's that thing that I'm talking about, from here to here. You see what I'm saying? And ego will keep us, it's not just like combing your hair either, So, but then it goes through, and I kind of talk about it as 2 steps forward and 1 back and all that kind of stuff. But the truth is, we're going to be finding your authentic self, okay? And that's what we're looking for. The mask that most of us wear, we would like to take that off, okay? And then, right here, as you awaken who you are and you develop, and remember, I'm talking to newer people here, so all of you more advanced people, just hang on here. We're going to get to some. I realize I'm preaching to the choir with some of you guys. Emotional traumas kept you stuck, and they have become the real part of you that is being played from one form or another in your daily life. In other words, we're reacting the way we've always reacted, and that's basically it, okay? In these recovery circles that we talk about on Thursdays, we will show that in your relationships, no matter whether they're parental or whether they're romantic or business, how they repeat. And you'll get out of one and attract to another that's exactly like it. What we want to know is why, okay? And if we are in this mindset where we're repeating, we're probably not going to be our total authentic self. And that's where we're coming from. All right, moving right along here. All right, by learning the process of your thoughts and emotions, clearing the weeds of your garden. And remember, the beginnings of recovery are about cleaning house, okay? And I think that every spiritual path has some house cleaning to do. And that's what we're talking about here. We're stuck, all right? Not totally stuck in life. We just become accustomed to being on the same level. And there's more, because there's always more. And more will always be revealed. And then it talks, I talk about the traps that are coming. So let's just go into the list, all right? Divide and conquer. We see that one. And this is a big one, wanting to fix the society from the outside instead of realizing that you can't change the eternal. Most of us will try with all of our mights to do that anyway. Real change is an inward job of raising your own consciousness. That last sentence is the most important, I believe. First of all, we would have to know that we would have intentions of raising our own consciousness. Because like I said, most people get to, I do this all the time. I imitate the old timers in AA. Got that? That's it. I know it all. I don't need anything else. I tell you what to do. But my world is stuck. And that's the part that they don't get to. I want to make sure that that happens to nobody, And we can get to a point, and I'm going to tell you, and I'll get into it in some of these other steps. The beginning of any sort of thing on a spiritual path, including in here in unity, most people want to be teachers before they've been a student. That's their ego. You see what I'm saying? It's real important that we understand why that is. Number 2, spiritual superiority, and this is a big one that I kind of grew up with, and I'm going to tell you all I went from 20 years old to now. I went through all kinds of different churches. Every one of them was, ours is the right one. That's it. See, we got it right here. Everybody else, not so much, all right? And then, of course, in the early days, with some of the heavy, you're going to hell kind of churches, even the people that are near us are still going to hell. We're not, And don't forget the very last one. This is a spiritual, like an arrogance or whatever. If Jesus was here, he'd be with us in our church. It's like, no, he'd probably be with the people on the street. That's what I think, Of course, I'm not going to get into that too far, but you can see the spiritual arrogance, right? Feeling sorry for those who are deemed not awakened, okay? We can even do it from our standpoint. I do believe that we are one of the highest, or the highest available spirituality is here. Maybe not everybody has it, okay? But I think we can look down at those other people. And this is something that I learned through my own spiritual practice, and that is everybody has to be on a certain level. Just because they're not on ours does not mean they're wrong. They're on their way, okay? I didn't come to a place where I'm at right now when I was 22 years old. I just didn't. And that was when I started seeing things different than when I went to 12 years of Catholic school, all right? I was indoctrinated, and I really was. But what I'm getting at was that I thought that was it there. I thought there was no more. I didn't understand that there was so much more, and not just that, from a Western Christian perspective, that's only a little small slice for what I know now. I mean, when we get into the Eastern religions and some of the ones that were around 4,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, and everything else, there's something to be had from all of them. And some of my own beliefs now are eking further towards Eastern type of understanding than what I grew up with. But that was where I was then. And it wasn't wrong. It was just different. It was just like the thing with going to college, or middle school, grammar school. Each one of those was a step forward. And that's why this spiritual superiority thing is really just a trick, and the ego takes over and block the sunlight of the spirit. And I think that's where we're at. All right. This is similar to that first one, avoiding everyday responsibilities. We're on the same thing. A form of escapism where you become so engulfed in your own spirituality that you tend to lose focus on your everyday life. Maybe I hit on some of that when I talked about where I'm at. Stop. Just stop. Be still and know, you know. And then these can affect your job, your relationships, living arrangements, paying bills, etc. I'm going to use a word that we use on Thursday night all the time, and that is codependency. I'm going to be stuck with the human doing of it all, and I will no longer be a human being experiencing life anymore. I'm going to be going through the repetition. And my guy, one of my newer gurus, Joe Dispenza, he talks about 80% of the things we thought yesterday, we think again today, sometimes at the same time. It's a repetitious thing, and it's our mind like being a computer. And we have to understand, we have to back up from that and understand what's happening. In other words, it's really easy to get into the habit of the everyday life. And we think that, and what we did with the meditation, and what we can do with a prayer life or a meditative life, right, can bring us away from that, and we can connect. We can connect at any time, you know. All right, Savior complex. My first one was the Mighty Mouse, right? Here I come to save the day, and I was really good at that. In my first couple of years of sobriety, we used to have a midnight meeting, and there would be all sorts of things happening and people and relationships, and I would get there by 11:45, cape flapping behind me. Dun, dun, dun. You know the little gleam in your eye? Bing! Right? Truth is, I don't know if I helped anybody. That's right? Savior comes when you forcefully instill your spiritual beliefs on others, only to push them away, instead of realizing that everyone is on their own path and will get exactly what they want to listen to this. That maybe my opinion on how things ought to go in your own recovery is not really what's happening. I'm seeing things how I want to see them. Or, and remember this is all stemming from a low self-esteem, that I'm going to come in here and if I can save others, maybe I must be okay myself. And the truth is, I missed the whole boat because it's still coming from ego, and it's still going to take away from the spirit. All right, number 5, all right? Spiritual nihilism, and in the italicized, nihilism is a rejection of all religious and moral principles and the belief that life is meaningless. Okay, there's a lot of that going on these days, but it doesn't have to be us. Seeing the universe so big that nothing you can do individual really matters. And we used to talk about this like a deity, right? Like God takes the world, he winds it up, and good luck. Maybe there's universal laws or whatever, but there's no relationship. And that's kind of what we're getting at, is that I believe that we have a relationship, a vibrant one, that's growing at all times and available to anybody. And you don't need anybody else to get you there. You can get some help if you want some, and you can use some of our examples. But the truth is that you can go straight to spirit, and it's going to work. All right? You might need to try a few times. Maybe you'll have some, like we said in the beginning, 2 steps forward and 3 back, 1 forward. My own relationship has been like that. And I've been there where it just seems like we're just not connected enough. And then there's been other times when I just feel like I am engulfed in the whole thing, that I'm being led, that I'm cared for, that it is nothing. And I use this description. If anybody ever gets into some of the stories on the internet or haven't had family members where they describe when they have near-death experiences, this total engulfing love and acceptance. It's just like, and they say that there's no words for it. I have been close to that, as close as earth can come. But I've also been to the point to where I'm just hold my breath till I'm blue and stomping. I'm doing it sometimes right now with my relationship. It's like, come on now, why? Why? Even if it's supposed to go a certain way, I can think of a better way for it to happen. And I really do think that sometimes the spiritual way is good, but my way is better. Sometimes it's quicker. And if I'm getting into that, I'm back to the ego. And then you can see how, with myself, I'm constantly bringing it back in, bringing it back in. And it's necessary. All right, and this one's kind of the same or whatever. Helping others, if you're always helping others and not looking for yourself, and this is what we're talking about here, okay? And this is another form of escapism and can be combated. And this is where I'm at today, and I'm restating it. Fix me first. And that's part of the reason I chose this today, because this is exactly what I'm dealing with. This is what a lot of the people that I'm dealing with are also dealing with. It's really easy to just kind of skim past it or whatever. But if we want the higher knowledge, the higher, I guess you could say, some of the spiritualism that's available. And I really do. Well, I didn't drink cheap beer. I drank the best scotch that there was. And I always do. And I believe the same for my spiritual path. And I'm not talking about scotch. You see what I'm saying? I wanted what was available. And I now have a belief in myself that it's available to anybody. Not only that, but we are all deserving. Every single person on earth is deserving. Right? There's not anybody who lives, and that's why I make people mad when I say this. I really don't get into too much of the sin nature and that sort of thing, and being that sincere, but that we are inherently good. And that's a unity message, right? So what I'm saying, some of the people that show up here on Thursday, they're like, huh? What? And they just can't believe that I just said that, and I did, you know? But I'm on a different path, right? And if they're not there yet, that's okay or whatever, but I'm not going to stop and tiptoe around because that's what codependency does, and I'm not going to do that. This is where recovery lies, and I think that we're on a good path, and it's going to happen. And I am in an open situation where we're not cloistered by some kind of church or religion or anything, but we can do whatever we want, and I'm going to do it. See what I'm saying? And that's pretty much my thing. All right, so then attachment. When we first awaken, we tend to stick to initial experiences, right? Which is, and as time passes, we are shown the long, hard road ahead of clearing energy that should be embraced as the next essential part of our path. Now, we said this. Cleaning house was the beginning of the spiritual path, right? But the next thing, really, is going to be an awareness of what was happening and why, and what can we do to get to the next level. And that really is what it's all about. Right? I know that there are people that are very far along or whatever. I understand that, and you can feel it in some people, you know. And look, I'm going to use the guy who's not here today, Paul. When he's around, he's in that jovial spirit. You can feel the love coming off of him. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You can feel it, you know. There's no doubt. And I would like to say that I have that, but sometimes I'm a little withdrawn. I'm into myself. I don't quite have it to that level. Or maybe he's just better at showing it than I am. But the truth is, I think in all of our relationships, that's what we want. When we say this with this church or recovery or anything else, if people walked in the door and everybody's looking down and really kind of like, maybe we argue, you know, maybe people are going to say, man, I don't want nothing those people have, you know, none. And I think there's a lot of people that will see different things as being counterproductive or combative, and they just leave. That's not for me. That's not for us. That's not what we're about. Or I don't want none of that, you know. So anyway, I love this picture or whatever. How many of these can you identify with? True spirituality comes from the heart. Remember what we talked about, not the head. The source of love is only by connection and the vibration of love do we elevate our consciousness. And we can agree with that one, right? I love the daisies here, by the way. All right? And when you question every earthly experience in the frame of what's best for your spiritual evolution. 6 months ago, I think I had the cape back on, right? Come back down to earth and just be and be still. And I think this is probably one of the things, because I have been high flying like that for a while. And it's like, wait a minute, wait. Be still. And then we have an opportunity to turn back inside and use self-introspection and intuitive discernment to raise your spiritual consciousness. Just elevate your consciousness, reconnect to source, and understand who you truly are, reclaiming your spiritual sovereignty and reactivating the original human DNA template as possible. And let's use that DNA template to mean also spirit. That we are created to be connected. And that's one of the reasons I do not believe that you can be separated from spirit under any conditions. And that's another big argument that some of my old people that I used to hang with. No, no. Spirit, God, whichever, all the other different names that we can come up with. It's like, and I'll say it this way, part of my spiritual path, it was once a time and in my meditation, I was seeking a relationship, and all of a sudden I got this, like an answer back, like, I want to have a relationship with you. And I was like, whoa, what? Did that just happen? And it did. And I don't have super clairvoyancy or anything like that. I don't have any of that, right? But sometimes things come through and there's no doubt. I am meant to be happy. And I truly believe that. I believe the last generation and many generations before that maybe suffering was necessary. But I believe that this is a new day, right? And a new season of spirituality is coming, where suffering is not the norm. We're living the spirit and being part of, and having like more of a just like total existence that is so much higher than what we used to have, and the ability to accept it and not just say, "No, I need to be suffering because somebody said something like that, or I was raised that way, or some particular church or some particular spiritual path says so." Or even in the recovery circles, there are those people that just want to come in there and hammer on themselves and that sort of thing. And it's like, no more love and only love. Thank you very much.